All right, Emily, I am so excited to dig into you, what you've done, how you've done it. I mean, you set a big goal and you went after it. I mean, to climb El Capitan in Yosemite in under 24 hours. I mean, that takes most people 5 to 7 days. And you did this in under 24 hours. And I want to unpack that. It's unbelievable what you did. And you attempted this climb, I mean, 3 times, failed 3 times until you did summit. What did failure teach you along the way, Emily? Because those were no joke attempts, but I know you learned a lot from them until the moment in which you did, in fact, summit.
Yeah, I almost feel like I needed to fail a couple times in order to figure out what I needed to do differently. Mm-hmm. And in rock climbing, it is kind of a sport of failure. I think in any sport, you kind of learn how to fail, and you learn how to fail and make it a productive experience. I think that's what's so valuable about trying to do hard things, is that you aren't going to nail it the first time around, and you're going to have to kind of go back to the drawing board and figure out what you need to do differently and kind of cope with those really uncomfortable emotions that come along with failure. And I think that that's just a super important experience to have as a human being. And my way of learning about myself in that way is through climbing, but it could really be in any sort of challenge that you have in life. You know, whether it's relationships or parenthood or career, you know, I've kind of learned about it through climbing, but it can really be anything. It's just, you know, my motto is that we should go out and try to do things that are hard for us, because that's how we learn the most about ourselves. And it is because we fail at them.
Sure. I love that term, productive failure, right? And that they can be, and I couldn't agree more. How do you think about failure? How do you ensure that it is in fact productive? Because that can be a hard thing. And I actually believe that today in our world, we have a really low failure tolerance, particularly with the younger generation. And that concerns me, because I think failure is in fact an absolute direct line to growth. How do we think about it differently, Emily? How do we think about it a little bit more like you? How do we think about it in service of it being productive?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think the younger generation does struggle with failure because we are so used to having things so quickly now. Like, we're used to immediate gratification and having kind of the world at our fingertips. And if something doesn't work, it can lead to a lot of frustration. And, you know, I think we carry that through to all aspects of our lives now. And I think it's incredibly important to teach productive failure, as I said. And I think what that is really just kind of owning our failures, taking responsibility for our failures, allowing them to exist, kind of accepting the emotions that go along with them, with a kind of a growth mindset, as opposed to feeling shame or kind of judging ourselves for failing. I think that can kind of be a trap that we all fall into. Like, oh, if I fail, it means I'm incompetent and incapable and not a good person and, you know, not able to achieve things. And that's actually the opposite. When we're putting ourselves out there and failing, we should be really proud, and we should really own those emotions that go along with it. And it's going to be hard, and it's going to be uncomfortable. I think that in a lot of ways we are a bit too comfortable, because a lot of us have a lot of privilege, and we're able to be comfortable in our lives and have everything that we want. And I think a little bit of struggle is important. And so I think we need to figure out ways to struggle and ways to push ourselves in today's kind of fast-paced world.
Sure. I always say that discomfort equals growth. You know, the pit that we get in our stomach when we're stepping into anything different, new, challenging, change, that's a sign that we're moving in the right direction, right? I mean, that's an indicator that we should keep going. I'm curious, Emily, for you, what do you think attracts you to hard things, like challenges, and how do you channel doing hard things in other areas of your life? Like, how do you, in fact, Is there a way that you think about that potentially is easy for other people to lift up and apply to their own lives when they're stepping into hard things?
Yeah, I think I've always been drawn to challenge through climbing. I started climbing when I was 10 years old, and I was really drawn to the idea of like solving the puzzle and figuring out my own way to the top. It's really creative, actually, because not everyone does it differently because we have different strengths and weaknesses and different body sizes. So I think from a very young age, I was really kind of drawn to the process of having a challenge. I just found it so interesting. And my favorite part about something that's challenging is that, like, there's this space of uncertainty when you set out for a goal, you set out to achieve a goal and you're not sure if it's possible. And it's quite scary and it's quite intimidating. And then for me, it's like when I can unlock all the moves and actually like complete all the individual moves on a climb, but I haven't actually done it. That's kind of my favorite space to be in, because it's like you realize that you're actually capable of doing something, and that like realization that you can actually do something that you set out to do even though you haven't done it yet is just really magical for me. It's this like crazy space of like realizing your own potential, and I think it's really confidence building. And so I think for other people, like, I think my advice is like try to get more comfortable with existing outside of your comfort zone. So it doesn't have to be these like massive giant leaps outside your comfort zone, because that can cause like a lot of trauma and a lot of panic, and that can lead to people kind of like reverting back into themselves. Yeah, like they want to like crawl back into their hole of comfort. So I think my advice is like find challenges that push you ever so slightly outside that comfort zone. It doesn't have to be like this crazy, massive, audacious thing at first. It can be just little tiny steps. And, you know, we do it in parenthood all the time. Like my son is almost 3, and we'll do it with like trips that we want to take. Like, okay, like we want to go somewhere with our son. It's going to be hard. It's going to be intense. Like things are going to go wrong. I think accepting imperfection is also a really valuable part of the process. Like accepting that things are going to go wrong and that you have the ability to deal with them, having the confidence that you're going to be put in a situation where something's going to go wrong. You might not deal with it perfectly, but you're going to deal with it. That's kind of like a really important space to be in. Like, I'm going to go for this. It's not going to go the way that I want it to. I know that because that's just how life is, but I am going to manage it as best I can. And I think that's sort of like my mantra.
100%. I mean, geez, girl, it's unbelievable. And to me, when we think about what do you tell yourself in those moments, right? Like, what is the thing that you tell yourself? Because I think oftentimes when we're stuck, we can choose a script that will keep us stuck or keep us from not going for maybe that one little step forward that is a little bit uncomfortable. What do you tell yourself because I agree with you. I think confidence comes from little moments of discomfort that build confidence, and it strengthens that confidence muscle and allows us to step into more discomfort and more moments and bigger ones along the way. I'm curious though, sometimes that first step can be the hardest. What do you tell yourself to allow you to take that initial step, and what have you found works for others?
What my husband and I tell ourselves is we always choose the hard thing. That's kind of like the mantra that we kind of stick with, is that like when there's a challenge and we're kind of deciding whether or not to do it, we have like really rational, logical conversations about risk and all of these things. But when it boils down to it, like if we really want to do something like for passion or, you know, because we care deeply about it, it's like we kind of have to accept that it's going to be hard. And we just say to ourselves, like, we do hard things because they're hard. That is why we do it. And so that's kind of like how I take the first step, is like not being afraid of the hard thing because it's hard. You know, like it's okay to be afraid of the hard thing for like these various like rational, logical reasons, but not because it's hard. Like, we choose the hard thing because it's hard, and that's okay.
I love that.
And then when I'm kind of in it and going through a moment, thanks. When I'm going through like a really hard, like in the middle of it, like when you're kind of like in the mud, like in the trenches of it, it's more like I try to slow down. I try to like slow down, slow my breath. And I have like a little bit of a mantra that I say, and it's slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So whether that's like my emotions are spiraling out of control or like my body is kind of like dysregulated, it's like, okay, let's slow down. Let's come like into my body and recognize that like slow is smooth and smooth is fast, and I can get through this and I can do it. And that applies to everything. Whether like I'm traveling and like my flight is delayed and I'm worried I'm going to miss my next flight. Like, I find traveling to be so stressful. And I get really like freaked out by like the thought of not getting home or whatever. And it's always like, okay, I've been here before. Like, I know what this is like. Everything's okay. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Take a breath. Like, just kind of like regulate your nervous system and like figure out what you need in that moment. And sometimes it's like, what do I need? Oh, I need a sip of water. Like, make it really simple. Like, really break it down into like, what do I need in this moment? Like, so I think, just breaking it down, kind of like taking really small steps, asking yourself what you need in the moment, not like what's going to happen in the future. Like, we dwell a lot on like what if.
Totally.
And I try to say like, focus on what is, not what if.
Yeah, my grandmother used to say, don't borrow trouble, right? And I think I love that, Emily, because I think sometimes it's what's essential.
Yeah, that's good.
What's essential right now, right? And to your point, sometimes it's sleep and water and a workout, right? I mean, and clear the deck on everything else so you can focus on what's essential so you can show back up. Exactly. Yeah. You know what's interesting? So, Emily, I didn't want to come out of the chute with this story, but I'm going to come in here with the thing that one of the things that we have in common beyond being mothers and married is I actually have a little bit of a stint with rock climbing, which my team didn't even know about, which is hilarious. So I'm dating this guy. We fly to Boulder. We're pulling up. We see the 3 flat irons. He looks up and he says, that's the third one. We're going to climb that. I've never been climbing before. He lead climbs us up the third flat iron. Unbelievable. 8 pitches. We go through lightning storm in the top at between 7 and 8 pitches. His hair standing straight up. He pulls me up pretty much the last pitch on just absolute thunder, lightning storm. We rappel off the back and make it to the wedding that we had gone out there to go to. And, to me, what is so astounding is I don't know how your climb 34 pitches, right? I mean, absolutely. I don't know what the rock face difficulty is, but it's a whole lot harder, right, than the third flat iron. I would imagine that for you would be a hike, right? It's unbelievable.
It's a bit harder, yeah.
You think? So I am by far not even attempting to compare the two, except that when I watched your film, which I really want to talk about, and you grabbing the rocks, you throwing on 2 pairs of shoes to make it through that little area of the climb, you grabbing the chalk out of the back of your bag. I mean, all of it. It is so unbelievable, and your film is unbelievable. And people who haven't watched it have got to watch it. It is absolutely a killer sense for it's a killer way to get inside of the grind that you were in. That was far beyond anything I can even candidly imagine. It's incredible. But what struck me, and the reason I even pull that little silly third flat iron story through, is that climbing it demands leaving security, sort of leaving comfort to make progress. And that's change for the sake of growth, right? And this can be hard in life too. It can be hard in business. It can be hard in marriage. It can be hard in parenting. But it's essential in our lives too. So I'm a little bit curious how you think about change which is such a word in the world today that all of us are navigating because of the pace of life. How do you think about change? How do you think about leaving this space of comfort, this grip, this hold, this little spot on a rock where you found an ability to sort of stop for a hot second, eat something, take a break, but then keep going? I want to get inside your head mentally. I want to get inside of your, kind of the physical, what you tell yourself, because I think it's something that we can all learn from, that we can all channel. And we're doing it in an uncomfortable meeting. You're doing it thousands of feet up, and you're going to fall a long ways if for whatever reason you slip off the grip. I'm just curious. That's a lot. Sorry, but I'm curious. Because it's just so badass.
No, it's okay. Yeah, thank you. And the Flatiron story is awesome. I've climbed the third Flatiron a couple times, and it's wonderful. I'm actually from Boulder. I was born there.
I know. That's why. Oh, totally.
5 years.
I know, girl. That's why. Totally. That's why I felt like it was appropriate to sort of attempt to connect in that way. Did you climb it backwards?
Perfect. It's perfect.
And without any ropes?
No, but we do usually climb without ropes, though. We usually just run
that's
up
incredible.
It and then
run
scramble
up
down
it.
the back.
yeah, I get it. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think that change is really hard for a lot of people, but it's such a part of being a human. I mean, I watch my son change dramatically every day. If I'm gone for like 4 days, it's like crazy how much he changes and learns, and it's actually quite painful in some ways, because like you kind of realize that like that phase that you loved so much is now gone, and you have this like new kind of like a new person staring at you and saying new things and just like learning new things, and it's kind of crazy. I think in some ways parenthood has taught me even more about change.
Oh wow.
And
yeah.
Humans, we choose that all the time. Like parents choose it when they have kids, and they choose to kind of upend their lives and, give so much to something else. Sure. And it can be so scary. It can be so intimidating, but we all do it every day. Like, I think even though today's world, it's changing so quickly, and we're all constantly kind of having to adapt and learn new technologies and communicate in different ways and figure out what our priorities are. Like, I think we should give ourselves a little bit more credit, because humans are incredibly adaptable, and we are changing every day, and we're learning every day, and we're adapting to this world every day. And so I think kind of like in some ways we should give ourselves more credit and kind of like be a bit more proud of our ability to be adaptable and have confidence in that. Like, have confidence in the fact that we're a species that can really like endure and adapt, and we can learn how to work together, and we can learn how to evolve, and we can learn how to, be good to one another. And I think that that's important. Like, kind of being proud of who we are and what we're capable of. And then there's an element, especially it comes into play in climbing, there's an element of trust in ourselves and trust in our partners and who we surround ourselves with. Like, you say like, oh, you could slip off the rock at any moment, but I don't actually feel that way. I feel very much in control most of the time that I'm climbing, and I have a lot of trust in my abilities, and it's been built over decades of kind of preparing for this sport and practicing this sport. And so I think what climbing has taught me is to really have trust and confidence in myself and my ability to deal with uncertainty, and trust in my own strength. So, I think that in some ways, like, humans are very capable, and we all have this inside of us. And so I think kind of becoming aware of that and recognizing that and trying to utilize that sort of like innate ability is something that maybe we don't realize as much as we should.
Well, and I think, no question. I mean, I love the way that you say that, and you're sort of saying, be gentle on ourselves, right? Be gentle on ourselves and recognize that that we are already doing a whole lot of things relative to change in our lives. What role does support play? I mean, I know that
Absolutely.
your husband, Adrian, and then, of course, Alex, who, was right there holding the rope, ready to catch you when you were climbing in those attempts. And then I think it was the 33rd pitch, right? When you were like, dude, I don't know if I can do this. When you, in fact, did end up summiting. What role does support play in our ability to evolve, to lean into discomfort, to change? Because it appears as if there was a lot of support around you that gave you the strength and the courage in those moments that were really hard.
Yeah, I think the film is actually a really nice story of partnership and support and asking for help. And it really does highlight that sort of theme. And I think that support is crucial to everything that we do. I mean, most of us have had mentors in our lives. We have relationships, we have friendships, we have, coworkers, and those relationships are really important. I think also in today's world, we kind of have been, separated in some ways by technology. And the people who I'm closest to are the people who I've had profound experiences in the mountains with, because we've shared these like very human emotions with one another. And I think that is something that we sometimes lack in today's world. And I think it's actually coming back around. I think we are actually realizing how important it is to be together in real life, in person, to share experiences together, to ask each other for help, to ask each other for support. Those people who supported me up there, it couldn't have been anybody who said, Emily, you can do this. You can, you're totally capable of this. Like, it had to be Adrian. It had to be this person who I've built this foundation with, this foundation of trust and this foundation of experiences together and being in circumstances that were uncertain. That had to be built over years and years and years. And I think that the film really does do a nice job of like telling the story of the importance of human connection. It's something that we all need. It's something that little children need, like from birth. And it is super important to evolving as people and to connecting with one another and understanding with one another and getting along with one another.
100%. We are absolutely built, no question, for connection. When you think about the 3 attempts, and of course the third one was really pretty brutal. I know when you fell and hit the rock, and it was brutal. But I'm curious, when you were going up to summit in under 24 hours, El Cap, your biological clock, by the way, is also pulling you in a different direction. Your ambition and motivation and goals and confidence at some level from your previous attempts is building. But your biological clock is sort of tugging you in the other direction too. How was that playing out in your head and in your heart? And I know you and probably me and a lot of people like you don't really think like this. Like, what if I didn't make it? What if I didn't? Would I have done it again? What would I have done relative to becoming a mother? The world is full right now of so many working women who are feeling a tremendous amount of pull and demand on them, both at home and at work, who are wildly ambitious like you, but also have a deep desire to be a mother and a wife and raise children and be present inside of that. I'm a little bit curious how that was playing out in your head as both of these clocks were sort of ticking, as the momentum was building. And given these 2 very important but also competing priorities that were rearing their heads sort of simultaneously in your life.
Yeah, it's definitely it was definitely pretty hard. Honestly, it did feel like there was a clock above my head just ticking at all times. And I think that all women probably feel this, whether or not they want to have kids or not. There's always like a decision point or several decision points. And I think it's a very interesting time of life that we're just now starting to talk about. And I think that we're just starting to hear women's voices and kind of the tumultuous time that it is, because it's really confusing and it's really tricky. And it does feel like you're pulled in many directions. And I don't think it's the same with men, because I think there is a biological component that's,
I agree.
Evolved over, centuries of being a woman. And so it's so interesting. And I think I use the word interesting because I think it's a better word than like
hard or challenging,
kind of like putting
difficult.
the whole like it's so hard, or like it's such a like unpleasant space to be in, because it is unpleasant, but it's also really fascinating. And I also find it, I'm struggling with it right now with deciding to have a second kid, and that's perhaps even harder than the decision to have the first one, because it's like I'm really uncertain if that's what I want or not. Whereas with one kid, I was like, I think I really do want to have the experience of parenthood. So it was more of like just a matter of not if, but when. And so, yeah, I just think it's a really interesting space to be in. I think it's really important to talk about it and to really share experiences and be open to talking about all the sides of it. And I think it's a bit challenging nowadays, because there is this sort of narrative that like women can do it all. Like you can go after big goals and you can be a mother and you can do all these things. And it's like, yeah, sort of. Like you can, but we're only people and we only have so much energy to give to things. And I can't give as much energy to climbing now that I did before, because now I have a kid and I want to give energy to him. And so, the whole like, parenthood doesn't change you. I was so determined when I got pregnant, like that it wasn't going to change me, that I was going to do all the same things and I was going to go really hard and I was going to go on big trips. Yeah. And I was so afraid of that changing. And then I had my son and it all changed. And I just didn't have the desire that I did before. And it was strangely liberating. Like it was strangely like, oh, I can still have climbing. It doesn't have to be front and center all the time. And I get to be a mom, and it's so much more fun than I thought it would be. It's so much more rewarding than I thought it would be. Like I was so curious about what the experience would be like. And it turned out to be so much better than I thought it would be. And so I think it's like, as women, we just have to be really open to these changes, and kind of aware that like there are changes you can go through in life that are kind of really hard to anticipate what you'll feel like. Like I thought I knew what I would feel like when I became a mom, and there was no way for me to know what I would feel like. It's indescribable. I can't tell someone who doesn't have kids like what it's like to have kids. It's just it just doesn't translate in words. And I think we have to be really open to those experiences in some ways. I'm not saying everyone has to have kids, but I'm also saying like you might not be able to anticipate like how you're going to feel after like a dramatic life transition. Like it might be way better than you expected. It might be worse than you expected, but you have to be open to the fact that like you can't really anticipate things. And that's also a really amazing part of being a human. That's like a really cool way to get curious about life. So I try to look at those types of scenarios as more like just a really interesting human experience than anything else.
Love,
instead of like, I'm losing this piece of myself or whatever.
Right. Yeah, no, I was coaching a woman that comes to our women's event called The Edge. And, I think we've been told this narrative around balance as women. I remember when I walked into my boss's office and showed him the sonogram of our expected daughter, and same thing. Like I was like, oh my God, I'm going to pop this baby out. I'll be rolling. I'll be ready to go. And that was when I was a sports agent, and it was a 24/7 deal. But I remember same thing. right? Like when I looked at our little miracle, as I call her now, 22, I mean, it was like none of it really actually even felt like it mattered anymore at the level by which I was weighing it at that time. But to me, the problem at some level is that we're told that it's about balancing all of these competing demands. And to me, it's really about creating alignment around the things, the people, the relationships that matter most to us, and then making decisions that then ladder up to our ability to live into that by saying yes and no through the clarity that we've created, that saying yes and no in service of allowing us to live into our deepest values, the legacy we want to leave. All of those things are so critical. And I think we can, and my mom said this to me once when I was young, she said, look, you can have it all, but you just might not be able to have it all at once. So it's sort of, what are the things that are critical now? Totally. Yeah. And creating that alignment with our values, I think is essential. And so I love sort of the way that you talk about that. And I think it's important for women to talk about that. My husband and I have 3 daughters. We had twins after our first one was 12 months old, Emily. So you need to get on it, girl. Let's go. Number 2, number 3. Let's go. No, I'm just kidding, girl.
That's hard. That's one of my fears.
Hey, listen, you face fear straight on. And awesome, how do you say hard things? Right, exactly. I mean, you know how to do hard and you know how to tackle fear. You know, I am curious as an athlete, right? When you finally did summit, and I sort of want to go to this moment when, 21 hours, right? You summit, you've achieved this massive goal you've been going after, right? You're holding up your phone with the time, right? Stamp on it. You're exhausted, you're excited, you're exhilarated, you're all of these competing emotions. I mean, it was cool the way you described it. I'm curious, what did that moment sort of feel like? And then at some level too, how has it been since?
I think in the moment it was pretty surreal because you work so hard for something, you spend years working towards it, and then it happens and there's like relief and elation, but there's also a bit of disbelief. I talked to a lot of friends who achieve these really big goals, and it's kind of like, even days later, they're like, well, I'm still not really in a place where I actually believe that I did it. So I think there was a bit of that, a bit of like, wow, I can't believe it's over. And there's a little bit of fear there, right? Because you've been focusing on this thing for so long and you've been pouring all your energy into it, and now it's just done. And there is kind of a slump that happens afterwards where you're just a bit like empty and a bit confused about what's next. Actually, having the film out has been really interesting because I think I didn't really allow myself to be proud of what I did until I got to watch the film, 5 years later, and I had some space and time from the achievement and going back to Yosemite, as a mom in the past few seasons and looking up at El Cap and just being like, wow, it's so big. I can't believe I did that in a day. It's like so impressive. I'm so proud of myself. And so it's taken that long for me to be like, wow, that was so cool. And I'm so proud that I put that much energy into it. And I feel lucky that I got to have that with the film, like kind of relive it, because not many people get to do that.
Sure.
So I think in the moment it was like surreal and it took some time and it was a bit melancholy and a bit hard to figure out what I wanted to do next. And, since then I got married the next year to my husband, and we did some really amazing trips and climbed and just had fun. And then I got pregnant and I had my son, and that's just been a whirlwind.
Sure.
The past few years have been wonderful because I've been able to climb and push myself, but also have this, I don't really like to use the word balance because it's not balanced at all. Oftentimes it feels pretty chaotic, but I think alignment is a good word. I've sort of like aligned my values and kind of figured out where my motivation is, and I've kind of figured out where I am on the risk spectrum now that I'm a mom, and it's a constant learning process. But I really love climbing still, and I'm still pushing myself. I'm still finding all these challenges that I can go out and pursue. Like, we're about to go climbing now, but we're going to bring my son with us, and he's going to swing around on the ropes and play in the dirt, and like we're going to get to climb, and it's just kind of a beautiful way to, you know, live. And I'm just really grateful. So since then it's been wonderful. It's been hard and a lot of change and a lot of transition, but like the constant has been, you know, my love for climbing and my partnership with my husband. And that's really all you can ask for.
100%. It's interesting, isn't it, though, when we're hyper focused on an outcome, on an achievement, and we pursue it wholeheartedly, and we go after it hard and we get after it, we grind, we go hard, and we get it, and then we get it done. I wonder, is there anything you would do differently as it relates to that pursuit in service of ensuring that emptiness isn't there after the moment of achievement?
I don't know if there's a way around that, honestly. I think that it's pretty, like, I think hormonally it's maybe like scientific that you experience this like massive like low. I mean, you speak to Olympic athletes who they work so many years and they go to the Olympics and then they have these incredible experiences. And then afterwards it's like, there's intense emptiness. I think maybe owning it instead of like fighting against it, you know, there's moments of guilt and shame when you're like, oh God, I just achieved this great thing. Like I should feel so elated. I should be on top of the world. It's like, I think that like biologically, oftentimes like we can't like be that high all the time. So you have this dip, and, you know, I'm not a scientist or a doctor, but I think that it's probably pretty normal to experience this low. And I think leaning into it and kind of accepting it and being, once again, being pretty gentle with yourself and recognizing this massive transition is maybe a good way to handle it. For me, I definitely fought against it and was kind of like, why am I not motivated? I should be so strong. I should be able to climb hard. Like I should be able to keep, you know, it was like this sort of like immature attitude of like, I need to keep pushing. And I have like a sports like therapist who
mental
kind of
coach
helped me, and she was basically the whole time like, this is normal. This is normal.
Right.
It's like I was like, no, it's not, but it actually totally is. And then, you know, a few months later I was like, I found my motivation again and I was excited to climb again, and it just ebbs and flows. And I think we need to learn how to accept that. Climbing is interesting in that it can be a year-round sport. Like you can keep going all year, and some people do, but I think if we can learn anything from other like more conventional sports, it's that there is an off season, and there's an off season for a reason. Like your body and brain need time to like recover, and so, you know, I've sort of tried to adopt that mentality and be a bit more open to those slumps, you know, because of that experience.
What role does purpose play in the pursuit of an achievement in your mind? Mission, purpose. What role does that play?
Purpose. I think you have to have kind of like, well, you don't necessarily have to have a clear purpose for doing something. I think what I like to think about is like, how do I want to feel when I'm doing something? How do I want to feel after I've done something? Like kind of like, what am I getting out of it intrinsically? It's not necessarily like purpose has to be like a concrete achievement that you can like put on paper. I think purpose can more be like, how do I want this to make me feel? Like, what do I want to learn from it? But, you know, at its heart, it's like, literally, how do I want to feel when I'm doing this? Like, what is it that makes me want to do this? I think asking yourself that question is pretty cool, because it can kind of help clarify, like, if you really want to do something for the right reason.
Right.
You know, a lot of times, like, I think, for example, in the film, when I took that bad fall, on that day, my purpose was, I want to get this over with. I want it to be done. I want to have this accolade. I want to kind of like say that I've done it, but I don't actually want to be here. And that was the wrong purpose. Like that wasn't that wasn't good. And I kind of had to go back to the drawing board and realize like, oh, my purpose should actually be that I want to be climbing on El Cap. That's what I want to be doing. I want to be able to feel the movement, and I want to be up there with my friends, and I want to push myself, and I want to try hard, and I want to have this like really incredible experience, because it's such a unique thing to be able to be up here climbing. And so I had to spend a year kind of asking myself those questions and asking myself what my purpose really was. And I think right now my purpose, especially like with the film, is to like inspire others to think about that stuff. To think about how they want to feel and how they want to challenge themselves, and the importance of challenging yourself.
Sure. I think what's cool that I'm reading sort of into what you're sharing is that the purpose has to come from the inside out, not the outside in. And when you, that third climb attempt, it really wasn't coming from the inside. It sounds like it was more, I want to get this over with. I want to be able to sort of check this box, tell the world, finish this thing that I've said out loud to everyone that I would do. But that when you made it, ensure it was from the inside out, it was a journey that was sustainable. And I think it's cool too what you pulled through, which is, I think so often in life our purpose is really anchored in others, and how we can use these moments and experiences to inspire other people, which you're 100% doing, and the film totally does too. Okay, so listen, I want to hit you with some rapid fire, but first I got to ask you this. If all of us could take one lesson from your journey, Emily, one thing to climb their own mountain, what would it be?
One lesson, I think it would be to try hard things. Just try. Like, that's it. Just try. I think trying is one of the most important things that we can do in life. And it's one thing that we're most afraid of doing, is that first step of just trying.
But it's worth it, isn't it, girl? So I'm going to hit you with some rapid fire. One thing on your bucket list.
Learn how to be a competent surfer.
Oh, all right. One habit or mindset shift that's changed your life.
This is hard. I guess
you can do hard things.
It's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect.
Yeah. You're a recovering perfectionist, I think I read, which is cool. Okay, what is a book that has, changed your life?
A book that has changed my life. I've read now. I read on my Kindle, so I don't actually know the names of a lot of books. But I think I read, I guess, Lynn Hill's book, the person I learned about first with rock climbing. Yeah,
I love it. Okay, so the show's called Game Changer.
I think it's called Climbing Free.
Oh, I love it. Awesome. So the show's called Game Changer. So who or what is a game changer who inspires you, and why?
Hillary Nelson. She was my mentor, like coming up through all of like my career as an athlete and as a mother, and it all came full circle because she became like a super, super close dear friend of mine, and she just taught me so much about trying hard and putting myself out there and like owning it and becoming a mother and just like, living this like chaotically beautiful life.
I love it. Thank you so much, Emily. Thanks for what you do for the people that you inspire. And most of all, thanks for talking about being a mom and that journey, because I know that helps a lot of other women like us that are navigating motherhood and our career. So thanks so much.